You add the 20th server, copy a working SSH stanza, change one hostname, and suddenly production rejects your login. Not because the server changed. Your laptop offered the wrong key first, the agent sprayed a list of identities, and the config rule you thought applied never matched the alias you typed. This is where SSH config multiple hosts stops being convenience and becomes administration. Today we are turning one client config into a readable fleet map, wildcards for environments, match blocks for conditions, and ordering that does what you think it does. The SSH client config, usually /SSH config, exists so your command line stays short and your policy stays visible. Instead of remembering users, keys, ports, bastions, and timeouts per host, you describe them once. For multiple hosts, the useful unit is not a single host entry. It is a pattern. A production pattern, an internal DNS pattern, a lab pattern, and a final default. This is administration by convention. If your hostnames are clean, your SSH config becomes documentation. Who connects as which account, which key belongs to which environment, and which defaults are intentional rather than accidental behavior from your agent or shell history. OpenSSH reads the client config from top to bottom. A host block applies when the name you typed matches the pattern. That detail matters. If you type an alias, the alias is what host patterns see, not automatically the hostname value you set later. For most options, the first value obtained wins, so put specific stanzas before general ones. Host star is your catch-all default, and it belongs at the bottom. One important exception: IdentityFile can appear multiple times and adds to the list of keys to try. That is why IdentitiesOnly yes matters when you want an environment to use only the key you named. Here is the core pattern. The host line matches anything you type that ends in .internal.example.com. The user line says these systems use the ops account unless a more specific earlier block already set user. IdentityFile names the key for this environment. IdentitiesOnly yes tells the client not to wander through every key in your agent as a fallback. That cuts noise, avoids server-side max-auth tries failures, and prevents surprising key offers. Save this in /SSH config. The directory should be mode 700, and the file should be mode 600. OpenSSH is strict about private key permissions, and you should be too. Let's work a normal fleet case. You have DNS names like dbo1.internal.example.com, but humans prefer aliases like prod.dbo1. The alias block sets hostname, so SSH prod.dbo1 reaches the real internal name. But remember the matching rule. The wildcard host *internal.example.com matches when you type the full DNS name, not because hostname later contains that domain. If you want aliases to share the same policy, add a second pattern, such as host prod-f with the same environment settings, or put those settings directly in the alias block. Be explicit. A good config reads like a small inventory, not a guessing engine. The first mistake is putting host star at the top. Since first value wins for most directives, you accidentally freeze defaults before specific blocks get a chance. Put it last. The second mistake is assuming hostname participates in earlier host matching. It generally does not, in the way administrators expect. The third is leaving IdentitiesOnly off while your agent holds 10 keys. Some servers will disconnect after too many failed key offers. Finally, treat match exec as code execution in your own login path. It is powerful, but keep it fast, deterministic, and under your control. Do not run network calls or scripts writable by other users. This episode sits between single-host comfort and fleet-scale SSH. Earlier, keys and agents explained what credentials the client can offer. Known hosts explained how the client remembers server identity. This config layer decides which settings apply before the connection starts. Next to it are proxy jump patterns, include files, certificate authorities, and automation that generates safe config from inventory. For defense, this file is also evidence. When an incident review asks how administrators reached production, a clean SSH config can answer plainly. These aliases, these users, these keys, these bastions, these defaults. One config can be fleet documentation if you maintain it like code. Try this on your own workstation or a disposable VM. Backup nel/ssh config first. Add one wildcard block for a fake internal domain, using your own test key path if you have one. Add host starred at the bottom with a harmless default, like ServerAliveInterval 30. Then run SSHG against a hostname that matches your wildcard. SSHG prints the final client configuration without logging in, which makes it perfect for testing. grep for user, hostname, IdentityFile, and IdentitiesOnly. Now move host star to the top temporarily, run SSHG again, and observe which values stop changing. 3 beats to keep. First, use host patterns like hoststar.internal.example.com to express environment policy once. Second, order is not decoration. Specific blocks first, environment wildcards next, match blocks where they make sense, and host star last. Third, pair per environment identity file lines with identities only yes, so the client offers what you intended, not whatever your agent happens to hold. Tomorrow, we keep building toward expert-level SSH administration with another focused topic in this daily series. If you also track operational risk, the daily ranked CVE brief is published on this channel as well.